The fate of a House bill to increase screening for Syrian refugees remains in the balance as it heads to the state Senate. And the bill passing the House overwhelmingly with bipartisan support. 47 Democrats defying the president and voting with the Republicans, and the GOP candidates are talking about it on the campaign trail. Take a listen.
Very simply, we can't take them, folks. We can't take them.
And if you just get one of them or two of them or three of them wrong, you've got a big problem.
President Obama wants to bring people in knowing that ISIS is trying to embed terrorists to send them to America.
It could be a Trojan horse. And I see these people coming by the hundreds of thousands, and I say, they're men. They're young men. They're strong men. They look like soldiers.
The vast majority of people that are applying for entry are not just widows and orphans.
The president should be protecting this nation, not insulting you and me and millions of Americans, calling us un-American because we want to defend this nation. We want to keep our children safe.
The On the Record political panel is here to discuss all of that. Now, from Time Magazine, Sam Frizzell, and from the Wall Street Journal, John Bussey. Thanks, gentlemen, for being here. Obviously, this is a very politically divisive issue. A lot of opinions on both sides, but there are Democrats jumping over and across to support at least a little more thoughtful, deliberative screening process. How do you see it, Sam?
Well, I think one of the important things is to look at where the screening process is right now. It's actually, in a lot of ways, quite comprehensive, which is something that has been sort of missed in the news. It's an 18 to 24-month process. It involves both the UN and it involves checks in the United States, biometric screening, in-depth interviews. And ultimately, we've had about 2,000 people who have come from Syria as refugees to the United States. So Democrats, the argument is, yes, what we have in place right now is quite comprehensive. For Republicans, many, and some Democrats as well, it's not quite strong enough.
John, you've taken a look at this and the components of it. Do you think that it's well, first of all, do you think what's in place already is comprehensive and secure enough, or is it sensible to add some other due measures to it?
Yeah, well, you know, where this is probably going to end is that there is going to be some kind of pause while they reconsider the measures that are taken. But it's exactly right. You know, this is right now 18 to 24 months for the average refugee resettled in the United States. For Syrians and Iraqis, it's longer because they go through additional screening. All sorts of biometric information is taken. They're already in a database. They get put into a database. And this notion that hundreds of thousands of, combat-ready jihadists are kind of washing up on American shores, something on the order of 50% of the 2,100 Syrians that have been allowed into the country already are kids. 25% are over 60. 2% could be called roughly combat age, whatever you determine that to be. So I think that the rhetoric will die down. People will see that that there is a fairly comprehensive screening process, and maybe there's additional things that can be done. That's probably what's going to happen.
And then, of course, President Obama has threatened to veto this. I mean, what are you hearing about that, Sam?
Well, I think it's at this point it's unknown. A lot of what happens going forward depends on what happens in the Senate. I think Obama has been very clear, and part of his rhetoric, I think, has been strong in a way that the messaging has almost gone beyond what I think some Democrats have expected. He's sort of really taking the Republicans to task about the way they've talked about letting refugees in the United States. So we'll have to see. It sort of depends on what it depends a lot too on what the Democratic candidates for president have to say.
John, your response.
Look, people are afraid, and they have reason to be afraid after what just happened in France. But I think that the Democrats are looking at this kind of long ball as well. Not only what to do right now that's reasonable, that's within the values of the United States, but it's also what's in the national security of the United States. And a lot of Republicans is exactly the same way. But at the end of the day, there's an election coming up, and the Republican Party is going to have to be careful about alienating various minority groups who see immigration as the manner in which they got to the United States most recently, Hispanics particularly.
And you're worried about that perhaps hurting maybe some of the GOP political candidates if you do
Well, yeah, I'm not worried about it so much as they're probably worrying about it right now. And the Democrats, too. But it's interesting, this crossover that you point out, that there were a lot of Democrats that voted with the Republicans on this bill. And I think that reflects a degree of fear right now, and perhaps also a bit of pandering to their constituents.
Well, we'll see.
I think one way to look at it is the Democrats look at it as sort of a moral issue. Republicans are looking at it more as a security issue. And I think we can expect the Democrats to emphasize that.
And maybe we can find somewhere, in between. All right. Sam and John, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks so much.
On the record.